7 after 9 o'clock. This is the talking point. A very good morning to you, South Africa. I'm Cathy Mohlahlana, coming to you live from Misty Hills Hotel this morning out in Mildersdrift. It is a special broadcast, and we're going to be focusing specifically on cancer awareness. It's as we wrap up the campaign that has been run throughout the month. So we'll get into a bit of that into the second hour of the show. As always, we will kick it off with the open line. Oh my gosh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Our opening clip this morning was Dr. Frank Magwegwe. He's an entrepreneur, personal finance, and employee wellness expert. So we'll kick it off with the open line as we do every day. It is your national roundtable, your opportunity to raise whatever matters of national interest that you want to put on the agenda. I'll be taking your calls on 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp line, you can send your WhatsApp voice notes and text messages on 0614 104 107. So one of the challenges, of course, that we have today is really expectations around the budget speech this afternoon. The Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana, is going to be delivering his medium-term budget policy statement, and lots of expectation, anxieties around what exactly he is going to do with this budget. You would have seen that already there have been yet more statements coming through from different sectors of society. The unions have been incredibly vocal about this, but you also have other institutions that represent civil society, that have an interest in economic policy, that are basically saying that this country cannot afford budget cuts. They're pleading with the minister to refrain from implementing a budget that has been described as an austerity budget, and that, of course, following from the notice that the Treasury had issued a few months ago already, freezing posts and effectively saying that there might not be any new money to give into government spending on various programs that government has, of course, committed to. On the other end of that is the Finance Minister, who just this past weekend, speaking at the Cathy Mohlahlana Foundation's Growth Forum, which was held in Drakensberg, he, of course, has been, digging in his heels. He says that South Africa cannot afford to not have budget cuts. He says it's a situation that is simply unsustainable for the country and could well risk the country running out of money. I put that in inverted commas because we know that government's never really out of money. The question is whether or not you're spending out of what you have, or whether you're having to go elsewhere to borrow money that can actually feed into your spending. And he's worried about the fact that our debt levels are simply going to spiral if we are unable to contain some of these costs. I wonder what your expectations of this budget are and what your particular concerns, especially given the fact that a lot of what has been discussed in terms of where the budget cuts may lie is already available publicly. What are your biggest concerns about what the impact potentially of this budget may be, and which way do you think the Finance Minister really should go? So coming up in the second hour of the show, we'll zoom in then on just a quick perspective on the midterm budget. We'll hear the thoughts of the former Statistician General, Dr. Badi Lehotla. And then at 10:30, we'll get into our special broadcast. It's part of SAfm's conclusion of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we'll be using the opportunity to speak not only about breast cancer, but also to speak to survivors of breast cancer, those who are involved in treating patients, and really help to raise awareness around what living with breast cancer entails, the treatment options that are available, but also just to know, right, to know that people are not alone, to ensure that if you're suffering from breast cancer, you can also reach out to organizations that will be able to offer the kind of support that you need, so that yourself, or even if it's a family member that might be affected, that you you are not walking this journey alone. It's a journey that requires a great deal of support. So we'll be getting to understand that better as part of our special broadcast going then into the rest of the show. So that's a picture of what you can expect coming up on the Talking Point this morning. I'll be taking your calls on 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial for the open line. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. And of course, if you're on social media, the hashtag SAfm Talking Point, and it's at SAfm Radio. We'll take a quick break, and I'm back with your calls. You know, there's a delay. There's a delay, so it's distracting me. Yeah. Hey?
Don't listen to them.
Don't listen to.
When
Yes, yes. No, the delay is distracting me. No, no problem.
but yeah, for talk base, you can just put it.
Yes. Oh, good. All right, we continue the conversation on the Talking Point. Let me kick it off in Port Elizabeth. Shadrach, good morning.
Mine in the book is from Mansour. Rashi Rasmus is from this place, from this fish. And now he comes and makes that comment. You know what makes me very sad is the fact that the Minister of Transport, the Minister of Sports, they have made absolutely nothing about the development of black people in South Africa, in the country. At this moment, there's a boy actor, physics number 5 in the world, in Jacksonville. And he does not get any support. He was supposed to play in France, and you go there and didn't have money to fly there. So he comes on the stage and talks. We expect the people from Port Elizabeth, the Quebec area, we take money out of our pockets to assist these people. And I don't appreciate, and I think he must come up on the thing and apologize for his comment. But what the facts are there. The coach is from Port Elizabeth, the kid from Port Elizabeth, the assistant coach from Port Elizabeth, and they have a kid to the volleyball game cup. I'm not saying that all these people are here, a kid to the volleyball game cup. And I said, and you come on the stage and make their performance. I don't appreciate it.
So Shadrach, the reasons the minister has used for why this tour will not touch different parts of the country. Do you not believe that those reasons are valid? I hear you making the case for Port Elizabeth, right? But I think the reason that is given for why the tour is only going to certain areas and not others, do you not think that those are valid? That has to do with the players and the coaches' schedules, and that are not necessarily about whether or not certain places are being disregarded as not being important, but it's really just about saying where can they reach the greatest audiences in the shortest amount of time, at least for this leg of the tour.
Granted, however, this is my issue. Saying we must not make it a regional thing. It's a South African thing, I appreciate it. But to come and make it, what did he do as a minister trying to do export there where he was born and raised? For just nothing. And he just not, it's not a regional thing. I'm talking about the comment of how we address this issue. It sounds like a restaurant on the radio or on TV, thinking that you must appreciate him. No. It's nothing else but the public servant. I'm not sure what you say. You should apologize. That's part of it. That's what I'm talking about. I don't have a problem. If there's a logistic, that I can grant it. However, but to make a comment like that, I don't appreciate it of the minister.
All right. So Shadrach, just to be clear, you are very upset with the fact that the minister has commented on issues around development because you believe he's in no position to be making those comments because you believe he has not contributed anything to earn a seat at the table, to have anything worthwhile to say.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. All right.
That's the thing. It's always an issue to be respectful for sports and we're highly proud of the part of it. Thank you very much, Cathy.
All right. Shadrach, thanks for the call. Shadrach out in Port Elizabeth. Sipho, you are in Margate. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Sipho.
Cathy, you know the times when you listen to SAfm, when you try and to get to phone when you address a particular subject matter that touches your heart, it's always so difficult to get through. But I want to talk about the criminal record that you don't exist.
Okay.
In order to make this point clear, I'm just going to share a 40-second story of my story. In 2014, I had just resigned from another company, one of the private companies, worked for the government. And when I applied 3 months down the line, when I got the job, a criminal record came saying that I had 3 prison sentences. To cut it short, I was dismissed for gross dishonesty and misrepresentation. I was so surprised that I had a criminal record. I tried everything I could. I went to the court. I got a criminal record book because the case was about 17 years old. So they said they had archived. We won't have a document to prove that I didn't have a criminal record and so on. I went to public protector, legal aid with all the documents I could have to prove that I've never been sentenced in the Republic of South Africa. But even today, Cathy, I can't find a job. I still have a criminal record that I have a 3-year prison sentence. And I went for expungement.
And Sipho, yes. What is it that you were convicted of according to what's on the record?
It's ammunition, kidnapping, and but it's quite a list. It's quite a list. And I also wrote an email to the Department of Correctional Service. I said, run my ID, here's my fingerprint, everything, and see if your institutions have ever had an image of sharing this ID or this name. So I really don't know.
And what's the year? What's the year that this conviction took place?
That was 1998.
Okay.
And I only found out in 2014. in 2014. So from there, they said, no, I must apply for a presidential pardon. And I said, I can't apply for presidential pardon because I'll be admitting that I was, because now it says the perpetrator and whoever was affected by the whatever that I don't know. I can email you every document that I have from public protector in Bisho, from legal aid, from the court, the sentencing of the court, and everything, Cathy, that I've never been, but I still have that sentence even today. I can take my fingers tomorrow
Sipo,
and send to everyone.
Yeah, Sipo, just
yes,
to understand, did this crime, yes, where this crime is alleged to have taken place, did you live in the area? Are you from the area?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
okay.
ma'am. Yes, I went to the court. The court gave me papers. They said it's a criminal record book that shows up to the sentencing. I have that from the court. They said that they didn't have, I can't remember what they call it, but there's some stuff that they use, they keep for 5 years. That tells the story, how the case unfolded, the case unfolded. But with this one, I've got the sentencing, and I'm not in the sentencing. There's nothing. I've got those documents. I went to every lawyer I could. One in Nauradi Market, I'm from East London. In East London, with all the documents I have there.
And the lawyers?
Sure so many people who are like me.
And the lawyers that you have engaged, what have they said to you, Sipo?
I've got 2 letters from the lawyers that we have really struggled to get certain documents because the case is so old. They don't have such documents. So I said, no, the only thing I need is an instruction to the High Court that they can give instruction to the Criminal Record Center to obliterate my criminal record because I've never been sentenced. But that's the thing now. I can't, because I'm not working, I can't hire a lawyer to say, look, go to the, because all the lawyers I've been using the government lawyers.
Sure, all right. It does sound like a very, very strange thing to have happened, Sipo, especially if you are saying...
I can even give you the lawyers that are still working even now. One here now that is working with me, Naidu is also with legal aid. She's busy with it now again. It's been years. She's been saying people are struggling to get this document from this place and this place and this place.
All right,
and
Sipo.
I've kept all the documents that I have from lawyers, from public protector. I have them.
Okay. What did the public protector say?
They said first the case was old. They couldn't because they know 2-year period of the case. But the guy who helped me, he said he's tried everything. I've got the closing letter. I can email you the closing letter. You could see the closing letter. That no, they couldn't find anything that said I was convicted.
All right. Okay, Sipo. It is quite a strange occurrence if everything has happened the way that you're describing it to us this morning. Let me put you back to our producers so we can take down your details and then see how best we can actually assist you. Right now, top of my head, it is a bit of a difficult one. I know that we have some incredibly esteemed lawyers and advocates who listen to the show. So perhaps one of them will get in touch within the next hour, at least to give advice in terms of how you can move forward. Sipo, sorry about
really
how this has,
really appreciate it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's turned your life upside down, and really sorry that's been your experience. All right, that's Sipo out in Margate. Yeah, incredibly strange. Having a criminal record and you never even had a case against you, were never even arrested, and now you can't even get a job because of this criminal record. It's an incredibly strange story. JC Kaunda, you're in Musina. Good morning, JC. I'm well, JC. Why do you sound so down today? What's wrong?
No. I'm not down. It's because it's long.
Well, you're on the radio today, so that should make you smile.
I'd like to talk about the medium-term budget.
All right.
What is the echo behind you? I can hear an echo. Something. Are you in the studio today or somewhere?
JC, you weren't listening at the beginning of the show. I said it's a special broadcast today. We're out at the Misty Hills Hotels. Yeah, I apologize for the echo, though. Okay.
Okay. No, I didn't catch that. Sensikatwe, if the government does care, they must cut their ballooned salaries, because South African government is the most highest paid MPs, members of parliament, ministers, president. They're highly paid. Lester Nomoy, those people in government are not like you, Siskati. You understand? You applied for the job. You went for interview. But now those people are volunteers from their irrespective political parties. Are you with me?
Yes.
So if they're volunteers, why are they getting so big salaries?
But you know, JC, the one thing that government officials will always fight you on is the issue of salaries. I mean, part of the reason why we are in this budget crisis is because of the salary increases that government had to implement for public service workers. That has contributed. I think it's about an additional just above 30 billion rand that needs to be spent to go towards those salary increases.
Yeah, with those government, let's say maybe teachers, police, soldiers, there is no problem, you understand? But problem in volunteers, MPs, those people are volunteers, you understand? They've got cars, they've got house allowance, they've got everything. At the end of the day, we as the residents of the nation of South Africa, we don't get value for money. What are they doing for us? Nothing. You understand? And if they care, social grants, they should increase it or to be double. You understand? And they must increase the budget here army. They must increase budget here health, here hospital. They must increase the budget of that one NPA, so that those crooks who are stealing money from us, NPA must be able to convict them. You understand? That's Department of Justice in your And to finish off, as a belief, if it does make sense, Godongwana, he must budget again for illegal immigrants, because the hospitals and the municipality areas are so exhausted. If it does make sense, they must budget for them as well, because we were competing for little resources to live on now. You understand? Something must come out. Let me rest my case for now. Or do you have something to say?
All right. JC Kawunda out in Messina. I'm still taking your calls on 086 000 2032. It is the open line, your opportunity to raise matters of importance on the national round table. All views are welcome on the WhatsApp line 0614 104 107. It's time for the latest news headlines.
Good morning, Cathy. In your headlines, a tax revenue shortfall of around 50 billion rand may be on the cards this year due to low corporate income tax contributions and weak export commodity tariffs. Analysts say companies spending on self-generated power due to rolling blackouts and Transnet logistical failures that have affected commodity exports have curtailed the corporate taxes. The Gauteng Health Department says investigations will continue into alleged bogus Dr. Matthew Lani. This after the Johannesburg Magistrates Court withdrew charges against him due to a lack of evidence. And the Muslim Judicial Council in Cape Town is expected to march to Parliament today in solidarity with Palestinians. Various political parties and union formations, including COSATU and PAC, will join. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
All right, we continue the conversation on the talking point. It is the open line. We'll continue in Johannesburg South. Temba, good morning.
Okay, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, Temba.
Not too bad. I just wanted to just continue on the chat to the gentleman that was complaining about him having a criminal record and so on.
Okay.
That, we have inefficiencies in government that are very scary. He mentioned that, for example, that he got some assistance from the public protector. I personally have a case that has been sitting in the public protector's office for the last 10 years. And it's even at the earliest stages. It's not even that it has gone through other levels of investigations and so forth. And you knock into the various doors, nothing ever happens. And the person who is seated with the file, there's no repercussion for the inefficiencies. The oddest thing is he's even misrepresented the evidence. And I was just lucky to see the evidence and disputed what he had written in the report. And, when I took it to the Human Rights Commission, the gentleman I spoke to there, whom I can't obviously mention, but he said, look, there are so many complaints that they're getting from about the same problem, about files that are sitting there, some of them unattended. It's almost as if the institutions themselves, exist only for political, fights. It's strange. I mean, and the thing is that there are so many scandals, there are so many embarrassing events that you find in a lot of instances that politicians are no longer even embarrassed. So even this call, even when you make this call, and someone there, the public protector, is listening to it, they won't even change the channel, but there's nothing that's going to come out of it.
I think, Temba, one of the greatest travesties comes out of the fact that if somebody has come to your door looking for recourse in a matter where they've been dealt with unjustly, if your organization is not the one that may necessarily be able to help them out, surely you should be able, as a Chapter 9 institution, to send them over to the right institution where you believe they might be able to get assistance or to get help, And so it shows you the way in which these institutions also operate in such silos that, even though you may justly have a case for having been done wrong, it's up to you as the individual to help yourself and to find who might be able to help you, which is not ideal. It's not the way that things are supposed to be.
In my instance, the first submission I made, the file disappeared. And nobody investigated why it disappeared. I resubmitted the file, and then the evidence was misrepresented. At some point, the file was closed without notifying me. When it was reopened, then the investigation has been ongoing. And even when you ask, what is it that you're investigating? Because at the very least, you've established that indeed what I've suggested to you is true. What is it over and above what you've determined? What you found, rather? What else do you need? And it's nothing. So literally a person can say, no, I'm still investigating. By the way, the same person that has closed the file without following process, misrepresented the evidence, the same person, the file still sits with them. So the issue of consequence. So you can imagine from Enoch Godongwane's perspective, as in just having regards to the fact that he's going to present a budget. When he makes a budget for 50,000 rands, as an example, this 50,000 rands is supposed to service. Now, if you find that there's no consequence for deservicing, there's no amount of budgeting that could ever yield a functioning society. It becomes a complete waste of time, that exercise.
Yeah.
you know.
Sure, Temba. I'm glad at least you came right in your instance, but you're absolutely right.
I haven't. I'm still struggling. If you have somebody that can assist in your crew there, I would greatly appreciate it. I've literally run out of ideas on how to get a report out of that office. I've ran out of ideas. Like I said, it's 10 years. The file has not been concluded. The first report is not finalized as yet.
Yeah. Okay, Temba. I'll put you back to our producers as well. And I think the difficulty is that, when there is this kind of inaction, it's people's lives that are affected. People's lives come to a complete standstill as a result of these processes that are stuck in limbo almost indefinitely. All right, Temba, we'll leave it there with you for this morning. Pro, you are in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Hello, how are you, Cathy?
I'm well, thank you, Pro.
Hello, I'm right here.
Yes, we're listening, Pro. Go for it.
Oh, yeah, no, only a minute. Melina Kikenaka problem, Yona, a criminal record. Rekatava is Likari Zamana Unyakaba to other states. I can apply a presidential pardon 2019. I committed a crime when I was 25 years. Now I'm 54 years. And I get uri mo South Africa tsamaya jwang uri motho a gone o tshwareliwa. Now I'm going to 60 years. I don't know uri batho ba ba na le malukelo o krea o tshwarelo. I'm a first offender and I was still young. Now I am 54 years. I apply and do everything, even to the public protector. In 7 years, I go public protector. And if they dismiss, they dismiss. But I was young and I'm a first offender and I didn't kill anyone. Marababa high profile. That's really waiting everything. So many justice. Is wrong because how are we going to survive? Last year, that means they are sending us back to commit a crime.
All right, no, Pro.
Thank you.
Conviction is really.
Yeah, that guy was older than me. Always he was after me. When I tried to defend myself, I injured him, and then they charged me that I was nearly to kill him. You understand? I was okay.
So what was it? Was it assault?
No, it was. They take it as an attempted murder, but to me it was an assault GBH. You understand? They take it as an attempted murder.
Yeah.
Look. I stabbed him.
Okay, Pro.
I was young and the guy was older than me. It's a long time ago and he was always after me, beating me since I was young, But I'm not condoning that. But if I made a mistake, I deserve to I'm a citizen of South Africa. Now I'm 54 years. I'm going to the pension now. I committed the crime when I'm still 20-something years.
Yeah. All right. Look, Pro, I do know that when it comes to certain schedules of crimes, they never really cleared from your record. And that could well be what you are facing, especially given the fact that the conviction was around attempted murder. We might have to look into having a conversation around this issue of criminal records and what exactly one needs in order to have that record expunged or to have it cleared, as some of our callers are referencing. That's Pro. He is out in Joburg, and basically for those who didn't understand, Pro was speaking about the fact that when he was 25, he was convicted of attempted murder, and he's now 64, and that record still stands, and he's been going from pillar to post to try and have that particular record cleared. All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'm back with more of your calls. 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial for our studio line. On the WhatsApp line, 0614 104 107.
SAfm supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAfm, leading the conversation. SAfm has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 14265. Craig Hall, 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Good morning, Oscar. Fred the Trucker here in Richards Bay. Oscar, my wish is that we can be held to the fuel price. If they can just do a subsidy on this fuel, then everybody will benefit. But now with these greedy ministers who are driving these big German machines and some of them even breaking, we saw them
I'm going to be with you guys now.
Be driving in Corollas, are we in trouble? They're going to tell us to tighten our belts. The belt is already on the ball now, Skippy. Where else can it go? I can't.
Good morning, Cathy. If there is budget cuts or any cuts, it should be cuts of deputy ministers. All these, which amounted to millions and millions a year. We don't need all these people. They must be cut. All these old people must be cut in order to have more funds for health, more funds for education. That is where the cuts must be. Number two, corruption. How many wasteful expenditure, billions wasteful expenditure is there? Nobody's getting arrested. Again, yesterday, a report goes, and NESFA students getting paid. Billions. I mean, no, man. Where is 2024? We need elections here.
Good morning, Cathy. This is Anele in Durban. It's easy to throw a blame to the victims. I'm referring to the conversation of Stephen and his last guest, where she referred the social media users and they are lazy to look for the information. I think she was supposed to say people don't have means. Some of the people don't have means to gain access to the information, because in order to get that information, you have to have a smartphone, you have to have a laptop, you have to have the data and all that. Not even just 1 gig, you have to have a data, and the data is so expensive. And people who come on air and just throwing blame, I think they must select their weights. They should do it in a very constructive way. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, Cathy. South Africa is hosting AGOA, and of which America is a part. And America entirely supports and openly supports Israel with weapons and everything. And ANC about 2 weeks ago just marched to the Israel embassy against the bombardment of Palestine and everything. So where are we going with this? We are partners on the other side. We condemn on the other side. So what do we do from now on? I'd like somebody from the ANC to come in and say something regarding this. AGOA this side and Palestine the other side. This is Kaba from the Eastern Cape. Thank you.
Yeah, Kaba, it's a perfect example of just how complicated geopolitics is, right? And South Africa has really had a year in trying to navigate its way through these dynamics. Yeah, it will be very interesting to explain. Of course, we're going to be having lots of coverage from AGOA, so you can expect some of those conversations going into this afternoon and tomorrow. Let me go to Cape Town. Barbara, good morning.
Good morning, Sister. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I am well. Sister, I came here to thank you for what you did for me last year, October.
Yes, Barbara. If I remember correctly, you called us after having experienced an incident of gender-based violence in your home. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct, Sister.
Okay.
Yeah, I am thankful because I got so much help, and I don't know how to thank you, really. It took me so long to come to thank you, but in my heart, every time when I hear you, one day I'm going to say thank you. And I'm grateful when you do some of these things to other people. I feel so touched because you are helping so many lives. Thank you so much.
Oh, Barbara, I'm so happy to hear that you managed to get some help. Unfortunately, the line isn't very clear. Tell me, Barbara, were you able to get out of that situation? Were you able to get to a place of safety after you know that abuse that you had faced?
What happened? I managed to go to my friend. She's staying far from where that thing happened. But I got some calls from people who were offering me shelter, those for TBV victims. But the reason why I didn't go, it was far from my workplace. So I stayed with a friend for a while. Then there are some, I don't know, can I call them private investigators who came to my place, and they took statements. They said they can help me to open a case. It's my local police station, but I said I'm not opening a case for that person. But the bad part, like the worst part, is that that guy was killed. When was it? September. But I just forgave him. I told myself I'm going to forgive him. I'm not going to do anything about it. And all the time he was feeling guilty. Every time he was sending me texts, he was calling me, I'm sorry. I said I forgave you a long time ago. But for him, he was guilty. He was now realizing what he did was wrong. So, yeah, I'm so thankful together because I got counseling. I got everything that I never expected I could get.
All right, Barbara. I'm so glad to hear that you are in a much better place, and I'm glad that we were able to assist you. And of course, you are the one who has every right to make decisions, particularly around how you want to deal with the person that was responsible for violating you. And I'm just glad that you have support and you have people who can stand with you during the difficulties, because it's never easy to navigate some of these situations. So thank you so much for calling in, Barbara, and for giving us that feedback.
You're welcome, Ms. Kevin. Thank you. God bless you so much.
All right, Barbara, take care of yourself. Barbara out in Cape Town, yeah. I don't know, some of you might recall Barbara's story. She called us sort of hours after she had been involved in an assault. She had been trying to leave a relationship, and her boyfriend at the time wouldn't let her leave, and he was threatening her life. And she's just gone through an absolutely horrific experience, and she shared that with us on air. So it's so good to hear that she's in a better place and she's received support. Let me take a quick break. I'm back with more of your calls after this.
Carol, hello.
Hello there, Smart Steve from Momentum here. Can I interest you in a 35% discount on your life insurance premiums?
35% discount? Steve from
Women
Big
are
Bank.
so forgiving.
I thought you left your tricks in the past.
They were
I have,
private
and that's the same
investigators.
place you should leave your step counting.
And she says she
I
just
get a free
decided
coffee
to
every week
forgive
for doing
him.
10,000 steps daily.
That sounds like a long walk to nowhere.
Steve?
I'm sorry.
What are the
With
guys
us, you
did?
can unlock up to 35%
They killed
discount
him
without
in
counting
September.
steps.
You sure? Momentum does
Somebody
that.
killed him
For
in
sure.
September.
By simply doing Momentum's life return screening on your smartphone.
Hi, how are you?
Smart.
Yes,
Pleasure to
I'm
meet you.
Smart Steve now.
Impressive,
Can I ask
Smart
you
Steve.
to please chat with Level because we
Just
are
chat
on
with
here
your
now. We're
financial
just on a
advisor
break.
about
Sorry.
Momentum Life Returns to save on your life insurance premium. Momentum, here for your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
African leaders.
Feel safe this holiday season. Secure your home with Trelidor. Call 0861 Trelidor now and get a quote within 24 hours. Our security experts are on standby at over 50 franchises across South Africa. So call today or visit trelidor.co.za. Trelidor, the ultimate crime barrier.
The 20th AGOA Forum will take place from the 2nd to the 4th of November 2023 under the theme Partnering to Build a Resilient, Sustainable and Inclusive to support economic development, industrialization and quality job creation. Tune in to Update at Noon with Sakina Kamwendo and Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampier for rolling coverage from the Nasrec Expo Center. SAfm, leading the conversation.
African leaders, U.S. representatives and the private sector will be gathering at Nasrec in Johannesburg on November the 2nd to attend the AGOA Business Forum. This forum will explore ways for sub-Saharan African countries to build industrial capacity and regional value chains to take advantage of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, a trade program initiated by the United States to foster greater economic ties with sub-Saharan Africa by allowing preferential access to U.S. markets through tariff-free exports. Standard Bank is a key sponsor of the forum and is leading the charge to accelerate trade across the continent through its presence in 20 African countries, the United States, and other key markets around the globe. Standard Bank is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
All right, we continue the conversation on the talking point. Let me go to Butana in Rosebank. Good morning.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, apologies for that. We continue the conversation on the talking point. Butana, you in Rosebank. Good morning.
Good morning, House Cathy. Yeah, it's Lennon here. House Cathy, I'm also one of the guys who is confused about the justice system of this country. Once you had a criminal record long time ago, that record doesn't go away. Even if you have cleared it, you have applied and get clearance certificates several times, but it still surfaces. Whenever I do my PDP, my fingerprint will be delayed.
When you check,
they say there's a criminal record. There's a criminal record. Now, you'll never understand because this thing happened long time ago, 1988, when that perjury crime was committed. But even right now, it's still hindering my fingerprints. I don't know why it's not been removed up to now.
All right.
Lennon. Good morning, Sis Cathy. It's Doomsy from Cape Town.
Oh, then voice notes.
They in turn blame the increase in salaries of civil servants. But the reality is that government is failing to grow the economy fast enough to be able to meet the needs of South Africans. So the more they deny this reality, the deeper we go into the problems. Now, government expenditure will be reduced. Reducing government expenditure actually reduces potential future revenues that will be collected.
KG, can you hear me now?
Government should grow the economy, find ways. They should think.
All right, those were just some of the WhatsApp voice notes coming through on the show. Butana, you in Rosebank. Good morning. Good morning, Butana.
Hello, Cathy.
Yes.
Cathy, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. This is not Buta Night, it's Kandisa. I'm not sure what's going on with the phone lines, but Kandisa, we can come to you. Go for it.
Yeah, man, Cathy, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Kandisa. We've got a few minutes left before news. Go for it. All right. I think we seem to be having an issue with the connection, particularly to our callers. Let me try Kanti. Kanti, you're in Cape Town. Good morning. All right. So clearly there is an issue connecting with our callers this morning. I do apologize sincerely for that. We seem to have lost our connection to our studio line with our callers. Of course, we are coming to you live from Misty Hills Hotel. It is a special broadcast. We're focusing on breast cancer awareness today as we wrap up awareness around breast cancer, particularly in the month of October. So what you can expect coming up at 10:30 is a conversation not only with survivors of breast cancer, but we'll be speaking to different organizations that work in this field that are providing support to survivors of cancer, not limited to breast cancer, but we'll also be speaking to survivors, those that have been fighting this disease, and to hear what their experiences have been. We know it also takes a toll on families. It takes a toll on community. So the more informed we are, the better equipped we will be, particularly in assisting those that we know, that we love, who might find themselves in this situation. So that's the conversation that you can expect coming up after the 10 o'clock hour. For now, we'll take some of the WhatsApp voice notes, and then that will lead us into news.
Good morning, Cathy. No, South Africans must learn to be honest. Your own census says foreigners are less than 3 million, which is 2% or 3% of the population. So how can 3% of the population overwhelm the health system of 62 million people? It's impossible. The person who is in charge of the health department is hiding behind foreigners. He's not doing the right thing. When I came to South Africa, there were people employed to cut grass. There were people employed to pick peppers. There were people employed to cut trees. All those people have been fired. Ask yourself why. It's not foreigners who fired those people. It's the government.
SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation. Independent and impartial. This is SAfm News.
Thank you, Cathy. In your top stories, more predictions ahead of the mini budget. And Eastern Cape authorities launch initiative to stop initiate deaths. This is SAfm News. A very good morning. I am Luyanda Maume. A tax revenue shortfall of around 50 billion rand may be on the cards this year due to low corporate income tax contributions and weak export commodity tariffs. Analysts say companies spending on self-generated power due to rolling blackouts and Transnet's logistical failures that have affected commodity exports have curtailed corporate taxes. Transnet says it's facing a debt crisis and will need at least 100 billion rand bailout from government to recover and implement its turnaround strategy. Economist Iraj Abedian explains the impact of Transnet's problems on the fiscus ahead of the Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's medium-term budget policy statement in Cape Town this afternoon.
Transnet has been a source of undermining growth and undermining fiscal revenue, because when we can't export minerals, when the mines dig it out but they cannot take it to the harbor is not functioning to get containers being delivered. It's a disaster. It's been a process that over the past 10 years we have talked about, we've analyzed it, we've highlighted the impact in the medium to long term, but the government just ignores the
and saying we're going to just do a percentage reduction will not achieve anything. There is a lot that can be done. I mean, another example of this is in 2015, and the then NEC for Sports in Gauteng said that her department is the Department of Events but nothing else. If an entire government department has an NEC that describes this as a Department of Events, then it should be scrapped.
The Gauteng Health Department says investigations will continue into the alleged bogus doctor Matthew Lani. This after the Johannesburg Magistrates Court withdrew charges against him due to lack of evidence. Social media influencer was arrested at the Helen Joseph Hospital on Sunday for impersonating a doctor, but the matter was not placed on the court roll. The National Prosecuting Authority says lying is not a crime unless it happens when under oath. The department spokesperson is Motalatale Mugimba.
The department further notes that the National Prosecuting Authority has indicated that investigations continue around this matter, and as such, the department is not in a position to fully comment on the case.
The Eastern Cape government has set up a rapid response team to trace the deaths of initiates and regulate the conduct of traditional surgeons. The summer initiation season is about to start in the province. The Rapid Response the Traditional Affairs Department have committed to seek justice for families whose loved ones die at the hands of illegal traditional surgeons. The department held a 2-day summit in East London as part of preparations for the summer initiation season. Premier Oscar Mabuyane says the provincial government has embarked on an awareness campaign.
Boys are not supposed to be going through this to any traditional surgery without a permit. That firstly says this boy has gone through the health screening process. This boy is 18 years or so, is allowed to go through this process in terms of the law, all that. So we have some interventions now. So we are putting together all these health practitioners to actually complement the work that we're doing traditionally.
The Muslim Judicial Council in Cape Town is expected to march to Parliament today in solidarity with Palestinians. Various political parties and union formations, including COSATU, the ANC and PAC, will join the march. They will hand parliamentary authorities a memorandum to request that the South African government intervenes in the war between Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Thousands of civilians have been killed on both sides.
1, 2, 1 good.
And finally, the
Ke
White
type
House
for
says
in.
President Joe
Ke 3.
Biden will veto a Republican
Okay,
bill
ke yona
to
he,
fund
re
military aid
tlo
to Israel,
podcastang ho yona.
but which excludes aid to Ukraine if it was to pass both chambers of Congress. A number of Republicans want to reduce aid to Kiev and oppose a democratic budget package that ties it in with support for Israel. The Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer told reporters there was a broad agreement on the issue of aid between himself and his Republican counterpart, Mitch McConnell.
We both feel strongly that we need aid for Israel, we need aid for
1,
Ukraine,
2,
we
1,
need aid
2.
for South
Ke type
Asia,
3.
and we feel very strongly, I do certainly, that we need humanitarian aid for innocent civilians in Gaza who are hurt. There are dictators who are looking for the United States to fail. There's Putin, there's Xi, there's the people in Iran. So we have to be strong and united at this time in our history and support our allies.
Recapping a top story, a tax revenue shortfall of around 50 billion rand may be on the cards this year due to low corporate income tax contributions and a weak export commodity tariffs. This is ahead of Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana delivering the medium-term budget policy statement this afternoon. Your headlines at 10:30 with N. Musa for SAfm News. My name is Luyanda Maume and I'm out.
Those are the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 38462 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
Hashtag SAfm Talking Point.
Big hello.
Hi, Smart Steve from Momentum here. Can I have a minute?
We'll do
Time
the
is
other one
money,
after
Steve.
this.
What are you selling?
I can
Tell them,
actually
are they
save you
gonna
time
type of
and
voice
money
notes?
on your life insurance premium.
Yeah?
Get this. By using your smartphone,
Yeah,
you can
I
check
think
your
so.
health in a quick 90-second
And then,
screening. And if
they
you
fix
answer
the
a
phone
few
lines.
extra fitness questions, you
Will
can
Buddy
save up
be
to
able to hear
35%.
me?
90 seconds. Can Momentum do that?
Yes, we can. You can get a massive saving for just doing a quick life return screening on your smartphone.
Ah, so Momentum has tech that saves me time.
See, you catch on fast, hey?
You're not the slow guy you used to be, eh?
Nope, I'm Smart Steve now.
My man.
Just chat with your financial advisor about Momentum Life Returns to save on your life insurance premium. Momentum, here for your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
It's not your imagination. The cost of living is rising faster than a Cape Town paraglider chasing thermals. Outsurance may just be able to help you stay financially afloat. They're so confident they can beat your car insurance premium that you can ask them for 500 Rand if they can't. That's monthly savings of 500 Rand cash if they can't beat your premium. Claim free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Ask for 1,500 Rand instead. SMS out to 38462 for a code. That's out to 38462. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Good morning, Cathy. Solomon here in Middleburg currently, but they're residing in Kemptonpark. Cathy, these social grants, the 350s and the children's grants that are given to the kids that give birth to kids, it's just exacerbating the problem. I think with these grants that are being issued in this country, it proves that this is not sustainable, as well as the RDP houses. I think providing people with land and making a conducive business environment will solve our problems. Thanks, Cathy. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Hi, Cathy. How are you today? This is Anonymous. I'm responding to the guy who has got a criminal record who is failing to remove it. He must just fingerprints criminal department and ask for an expunge form to remove his name from the criminal department. He must ask for an expunge form.
Good morning, Cathy. It's Mzi here. I work for government. I think you are mistaken. This lie that government is in a financial crisis because of salary increment, it's a big blue lie. Government is in this mess because of stealing and wastages. You see, do you know that government buys a pen for 300 Rand? The one for 8 Rand? See, those are the things no one is willing to talk about. Because it's easy to lump in workers as people who are responsible for this financial hardship. No, you are unfair to workers. You know how a nurse ends? Do you? So stop this rubbish. Thank you. Z.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, welcome to the second hour of the Talking Point. It's 10 after 10 o'clock. Just before we get to our special broadcast at 10:30, we're going to touch a bit on the medium-term budget policy statement that the Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana, will deliver this afternoon. Dr. Badile Lehohla is the former Statistician General. He'll be part of this conversation. Dr. Lehohla, good morning to you. Thanks for your time today.
Morning, Cathy, and how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Dr. Lehohla. I don't know, you would have heard one of our listeners just in the WhatsApp voice note we played before coming to you, very angry in particular about this notion that the increases in salaries for government workers are what have contributed, along a long list of other things, right? But a part of what have contributed to this financial problem that we are facing, that our costs just keep increasing, but unfortunately we don't have enough money to actually fund what it is that government needs to do.
Well, it's a very interesting question that you are faced with. I think there is a misconception that has to be corrected. The notion that we don't have money is equating government to a household. In my household, when I don't have money, I don't have money. But government as a construct, or a state as a construct, it has a number of aspects to it, like the Reserve Bank, like the Treasury, and the government itself. That construct has ability to create the necessary resources, and money as part of that construct is something that is created as credit from the Reserve Bank, which lends money at reasonable rates to the state to perform its functions. So there is a fundamental mistake and a fundamental notion that is wrong, that equates a government to a household, and that has to be dismissed. Even before we come to what salaries government employees get or what salaries bosses of industry actually get, we have to remove the notion of accounting from economics. What is being said by saying there's no money, money is finished, is an accounting principle, not an economics principle. Roosevelt, at the end or towards the end of the Second World War, didn't have money. Europe didn't have money. But through the Marshall Plan, they were able to generate resources to get that economy started. So if we agree to the notion of no money, we actually defy what Roosevelt did through the Marshall Plan in Europe, which didn't have money.
When we look at part of what has come out of Finance Minister Godongwana's office and even statements that he has made, of course, he has said that, South Africa, as things stand, runs the risk of really increasing the debt spiral that we are caught up in if we don't cut our spending. And the point that you're making around the fact that governments don't run out of money, yes, they might not run out of money, but they can increase their debt to levels that are simply unaffordable. And that seems to be what he is warning against. What is your approach to this talk around austerity? And if you are giving the minister advice, really, how would you say he must balance the equation?
Well, the problem of government, South African government, is that each institution acts independently and is independently independent. The Reserve Bank is independently independent, so is the Treasury, so are government departments. There is no interdependence in what we do. So in many ways, therefore, we see the question of money running out. We see the question of increasing debt to GDP ratio, when actually we have a problem of growth. Our problem is that the economy is not growing. The question of debt to GDP ratio is a question of growth, not a question of lack of money. So when we actually have a policy process that doesn't have enough credit extension to small businesses, we talk about small businesses, but when you go and look at how they access money, you find that they can't. The classical one was during COVID, where 500 billion was set aside to be accessed. What happened? The banks said, the Reserve Bank says, they must follow specific procedures in order to access that money. The commercial banks couldn't extend that money. So that 500 billion that was there couldn't be accessed. So the instruments for credit extension to small businesses, which would grow the economy, are not there. So there's no credit extension. There is no clear policy. There's no clear plan. What we are doing is serious master plans all the time. And when you try to model those master plans, the microeconomics, you find that they will generate very little growth. As far as you'll generate very little for as long as the Reserve Bank is not an interventionist in the economy, for as long as the Treasury is not an interventionist in the economy, and they claim independence. So this is the problem. So the question of debt to GDP ratio is self-created. over the last 48 quarters of the year the 48 years, so over the last 48 quarters, what has happened is that real interest rates have been far ahead and far bigger than growth. So the problem is our inflation targeting not generating these high interest rates because we don't borrow from our own resources, which is trillions of pension money, 17 trillion in private pensions, 2 trillion or 3 trillion in terms of government pensions. The Reserve Bank has the ability to incentivize borrowing directly from those pensions, not via brokers, and therefore set the rates lower for actually industrialization, resolving the problems of ESCOM. Obviously, there is a risk of our corrupt politicians who will steal the money from the pensions, and that we should confront. We shouldn't go and borrow from foreign governments or foreign investors when we have so much money, and we should confront our evils. We must confront our demons of theft and the risk of these pensions being run down by a government that is irresponsible. That's where the problem is. So these things that the Minister of Finance is talking about are self-created crises of failure to confront the reality of governance, and particularly economic governance.
Dr. Lehohla,
this debt to GDP ratio, yes.
You speak about the fact that as far as you're concerned, it's not necessary for government to be lending money from institutions, and some of them of course would be your traditional Bretton Woods institutions, your IMFs, your World Banks. But as we speak, we not only have money to the tune of billions that has been approved to fund South Africa's just energy transition. We're only going to continue to see more of that, given the fact that that's part of where government's focus is going into the future. So the idea of us not lending money from these institutions, yes, of not borrowing money rather from these institutions, is it not a bit of a misnomer? Because not only are we there, but as things stand, there isn't any intention to borrow less. If anything, we seem to be borrowing more.
Well, we don't need in the first place to go and borrow from international institutions. We have 17 trillion in pensions in South Africa, in rands. We have 3 trillion in rands in South Africa from government pensions. What is happening is this money is being given outside, and we go and borrow from that money via brokers, instead of actually the Reserve Bank intervening or the Treasury intervening and ensuring that we borrow from that money that we have saved, which are our own domestic savings of 21 trillion, and borrow at preferable rates. That's what we should be doing. The risk we face, though, is that there's so much corruption that when we borrow from that money, it is possible that we can run down the state because of lack of accountability. And I'm saying that we have to tackle these demons of accountability that led us to what Zondo has said. For as long as we don't deal with that, we'll find ourselves having to borrow from outside, but have the same implications, where then the sovereign will have owed so much to foreigners that will actually mortgage the country to foreigners. What is critical is to actually put these corrupt politicians on the line and deal with them. That's what has to be done. And that's our crisis of debt. It emanates from that, and we are afraid to tackle that issue. To the extent that we are afraid to tackle that issue and try to obviate by going to borrow from outside, doesn't make us escape from the crisis that we continue to have of high debt to GDP ratio. That can be resolved largely by borrowing directly from our pensions. And The problem is a poor economic policy design. We actually are following accounting instead of economics.
We'll continue the conversation with Dr. Padi Mohlahlana in a moment.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAfm 107 FM in Kroonstad. If you're active on social media and love SAfm, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAfm page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAfm, leading the conversation. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on the Talking Point. We're looking ahead to this afternoon, the medium-term budget policy statement. Dr. Padi Mohlahlana is our guest for this particular conversation. Dr. Mohlahlana, I want you to maybe just talk to me about 3 things, perhaps, that you believe the finance minister should not do, because much of our conversation in terms of the views you've shared, I think also form part of a conversation, right, about really what is the policy framework that our National Treasury and government follows when it comes to matters of budgeting. And these are issues that are constantly being debated. So given the framework as we understand it and know it to be, what are the 3 things that you believe the minister should not do this afternoon?
Well, the parliament must not approve the austerity measures that the minister is going to talk about. That's a disaster, a formula for disaster. That's the one thing that we should not do. 2, of course, the World Bank has already said it's giving us 1 billion loan. That's the wrong borrowing, because we have 17 trillion plus 2 trillion to resolve the problems of ESCOM. Borrowing from outside is not the right thing, altogether not. It's a no-no when you have your own pension. Countries that are developed borrow from their pension, and they borrow directly from their pension to the Reserve Bank. They don't take their money into markets and then you borrow from the market. They borrow specifically through fiscal instruments of Treasury and the Reserve Bank. So that's what developed countries do. And they do so because they have pensions. South Africa may be an underdeveloped, not so developed country, but we have bunches and bunches, trillions of that money in our pensions. So we can borrow from that money. So borrowing from World Bank and all those others is the wrong thing to do. The third thing that we should be able to reject from the MTBPS is the notion that government is a household, because the basis of that is absolutely misinformed economics. It's not economics, it's accounting. And what we are dealing with here are economic issues. And economic issues desire a different level of profession, a different level of approach, and a different level of execution. What we have to go back to the drawing board on is to really the design of our economic policies and how development is financed. At the heart of this is the role of the Treasury and the role of the Reserve Bank in achieving developmental outcomes for the country. And as I mentioned earlier, was during COVID, the 2 ministers, Peter Mboweni said banks should lend to businesses. Nchadeni, the Minister of Small Businesses, was saying, oh, look at it, only whites got access to this money. They played a blame role. commercial banks said we can't give this money because we are constrained by the Reserve Bank. Now, what kind of architecture of the state is that, where the top people that govern point to each other's policies that do not allow this process to be executed, particularly during a crisis? It shows the deficiency, defects in the architecture of development, of policy design, of economic policies. And this is where the problem is. And we are skirting around this thing instead of confronting it. So what has happened, therefore, is the design of our economic policies are not supportive of development. And the budget instrument that the minister will be talking about today has to be rejected. The austerity has to be rejected because it is anti-development.
All right, and that there is Dr. Badile Hodla weighing in terms of the medium-term budget policy statement that will be delivered this afternoon. Dr. Hodla, thank you so much for your contributions on the talking point.
Thank you very much, Cathy.
All right, coming up in a short while, we're going to be getting into our special broadcast coming out of the Misty Hills Hotel. We'll be focusing on breast cancer awareness as we conclude the awareness campaign that we've been running as a station around breast cancer in the month of October. So we'll get to that shortly. At 10:30, we'll take you to the news headlines. That will be after this quick break.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAfm.
Every person, no matter who you are, what music you're inclined to listen to, and what you do with your weekends. You need a weekend playlist. It's that musical mix of music that accompanies the lazy weekends, whether catching up with friends and family or just taking some time to reflect.
Yeah, I think it's a bit better.
Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 on SAfm.
Good morning. We start with news just in. The High Court in Pretoria has declared unconstitutional the Higher Education Minister Blade Nzimande's decision to place the University of South Africa under administration. Earlier, the Higher Education Department said it was aware of attempts to prevent the newly appointed administrator of UNISA from carrying out his duties. President Cyril Ramaphosa appointed Advocate Koleka Kaleka as the public protector for a 7-year non-renewable term. The appointment is with effect from today. And a tax revenue shortfall of around 50 billion rand may be on the cards this year due to low corporate income tax contributions and weak export commodity tariffs. I'll have details on these and other stories at 11.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Hi, Cathy. You know, I concur with Mr. Lekhotla 100%, Mr. Pali. You know, how can you go and borrow money from foreign lands through dollars and pounds, whereas you got 1 trillion reserves in the country, in Pretoria? So I think it's a shame. But the reason that they fear Comrades will put more jar in the hands of the coffers, that reason is too minute. It doesn't draw in water. So I think our president should be Museveni or any hardcore president that cannot let criminality flourish in this country. So I'm not surprised. People from Zonto Commission, comrades, are untouchable. Some are in the presidency, some are running big institutions, but they're being pinpointed as perennial thugs. So it means as South Africans we are going nowhere. So let the president, through Mr. Palilo Khotla, reverse what Mr. Kotongwana was saying in Lekgotla, WP Rhymes Limpopo.
Morning, guys. I'd just like to get your guest's take on the concept of
You're within Rise,
fiscal deficits, what he's talking about, for the expansion of services and capacity, state capacity, infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and the deficits for the sake of the developmental state, social grants, etc., etc. His concept of effectively printing more money and eroding the value of the rand in order to fund not expansion but social upliftment costs seems, like lunacy.
Hashtag SAfm Talking Point. Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAfm. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday. Here, there, and everywhere. SAfm 106.1 FM in Bombela. The 20th AGOA Forum will take place from the 2nd to the 4th of November 2023 under the theme Partnering to Build a Resilient, Sustainable and Inclusive AGOA to Support Economic Development, Industrialization and Quality Job Creation. Tune in to Update at Noon with Sakina Kamwendo and Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampier for rolling coverage from the Nasrec Expo Center. SAfm, leading the conversation. Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampier.
So why is it then that Pence struggled to gain the traction? Or could we solely just put that on Trump's campaign?
When you're ready, you can give the office the heads up there.
Denigrated Pence's unwillingness to break from the Constitution and to somehow certify Trump as the winner in 2020, which would have been a disaster for the democracy, is what caused Trump to condemn Pence. So he pulled out now before incurring more expenses.
Dr. John Streamler, Honorary Professor of International Relations.
Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampier. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on The Talking Point, our special broadcast just focusing on cancer awareness and more specifically breast cancer awareness is what we'll get into for the rest of the show. I'm joined by a number of guests who are going to not only be sharing their experiences, we also have experts that are part of the panel who'll be sharing knowledge really around cancer awareness. And we're joined by a live audience. So great to have all of you in the room and looking forward to bringing you in as part of our conversation this morning. Before we get started, let me welcome the guests that form part of the panel. Nolene Koshin, who is the founder and director and CEO of Pink Drive. Nolene, good morning. If you can please pick up your mic and say hello. I want to make sure that we'll be able to hear you.
Morning, Cathy, and morning to the lovely pink ladies sitting.
All right. It seems, you see, this is why it's important for us to go through those microphones. We'll try and work on that one. In the meantime, Professor Carol N. Ben, you're the head of the Breast Care Center of Excellence at Mill Park Hospital. Good morning, Prof.
Hi. Can you all hear me? No? You can hear me?
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
okay.
we can.
Absolutely. It's great to be here looking at all these beautiful ladies, all these wonderful survivors. Yeah.
Ntombi Mkoyi is the founder and managing director of InRise Consulting. Ntombi, good morning.
Good morning to everyone. Good morning to all the listeners and the lovely ladies who are here and the men as well. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Josie Tekiso is a breast cancer survivor.
Good morning.
Apologies for that. Josie, go for it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Josephine Tekiso, and thank you for having me.
And we also have Refule Sidumedi, who is a breast cancer survivor. Refule, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Refule Fifi Sidumedi. It's such an honor and privilege to be here. I'm blessed.
And I can see you've embraced the full spirit
Yes.
of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. She's got pink hair.
No, not only for the month,
Not only
throughout
this is
every
you
time.
364 days a year.
I'm telling you.
Wow, that's absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
Nolene, I want to begin with you, perhaps just to set a context of where we are as a country. These campaigns have been going on for years now, and I see there's something that has been quite renewed about this year, going through October month. The campaign and its visibility really seems to have picked up again. How would you describe how South Africa has been dealing with the conversation around cancer more broadly? And then you can zoom into breast cancer specifically.
I think what's important to note is, I think just on breast cancer doesn't happen in October. It happens 365, 366 if it's a leap year. So from a pink drive perspective and campaigns, we
Here, there, and everywhere. SAfm 104.6 FM in Tshwane.
All right, we apologize for that break in transmission. We seem to be having an issue with that mic on the far end. Maybe let me do this. Please pass this on to Nolene. Nolene, I'm going to ask you to try again in terms of responding to where we are as a country in the approaches to the conversation around breast cancer awareness.
I think what I'd like to say is that breast cancer doesn't happen in October. It happens 365, 366 if there's a leap year. So from a pink drive perspective, we're busy the whole year round talking about breast cancer, working in the communities, etc. But yes, I understand that there needs to be campaigns to draw attention to the disease, but the disease and other cancers are so big, and I think not taken care of in South Africa, or not taken note of in South Africa, because you see all the advertising the whole year round about HIV/AIDS and TB and malaria, etc. But cancer doesn't feature there. Yet cancer, breast cancer and cervical cancer, it's known that according to the current stats, have surpassed, or breast cancer surpassed cervical cancer. And therefore, I believe that more attention must be drawn to cancer as a disease.
It's interesting that you raised the issue of some of the other chronic illnesses and really pandemics that we're dealing with as a country, at least in the form of HIV and TB. What has been said following the post-COVID period is that a lot of resources that would have traditionally gone to some of these, not just campaigns, but treatment programs, etc., that funding has reduced quite significantly. And, many specialists have come onto the show to say exactly that. What has that meant for cancer? Have you had the same kind of problem when it comes to the resources that are actually available for you to do this work?
Well, we we don't get any, currently, we don't get any government funding, Pink Drive, whatsoever. So all our funding comes from corporate South Africa, other philanthropic organizations, other international governments. So whilst, yes, I recognize that, COVID took away a lot of funding that other NGOs, etc., in the cancer space were receiving. But we carried on regardless, and we are still very blessed, I must say, as Pink Drive, as an organization, to still be able to do what we are doing, and we've upscaled even since COVID.
Let's talk numbers, Professor Carol in Ben. What is the prevalence of this cancer that we're looking at for South Africa, and where are we in as far as being able to get these diagnoses right?
So I think the thing is, what we must realize is the word cancer is a scary word. So when people talk about money being withdrawn and not around, etc., I don't think we must look at stealing from Peter to pay Paul. I think what we need to do is conceptualize that there are a lot of problems. Problems of poverty, TB, malaria, HIV, and cancer, okay? And what we need to realize is we want to teach people environments like this. What you do is the most critical, important way, media and social media and people, to take away stigma and fear, to realize that cancer, breast cancer particularly, like other diseases, knows no boundaries of age, sex, or race, okay? And my worst word is the word ignorant. People are not ignorant. If you've got a headache, a cough, a sore foot, a lump in your breast, people are scared. They are scared because the concept around treatments are unattractive, and diagnosis, the concepts of surgeries and chemotherapies. I've just come back from a meeting in Florence where there's a massive drive in all cancers to de-escalate care, which means less treatment, less surgeries, less chemos, less radiation. So it shouldn't be a mass around resource. What we want is people to be able to know if they have a problem, a lump, a change in their nipple, a chronic cough. They want to know if they've got a vaginal discharge or if you've got issues of concern. Okay, you've had unprotected sex and you've got glands that are up. We want to know this so that you know how to access healthcare services, because there's no screening. So it's great to have many people do, let's screen for this, cervical, breast, etc., but there's no set, because screening is around health economics. So we can't actually give correct values around numbers of breast cancer and cervical, because when I initially started my first clinic in Barrow, they told me it wasn't a disease of black women. And then I had Louisa, who's now 35 years out and still lives in Soweto. And when she and I went into the townships, within 3 weeks we had 150 women. And then people came to me and said, people in my villages all die of cancer, but they're not accessing to care. So I was just saying, my nicest time in the last 2 weeks, I went out to Dube Station and just said to the woman, come, let's examine your breast. And I think I found 4 lumps and this. That's what we want. We want people to access healthcare service, and we want to take away the stigma of fear around medical treatment. There's some amazing stories out here of people who are understanding the concept our beauty is with our scars and our individuality, and not to be scared of treatment. Okay.
Having dealt with cancer patients for as long as you have, Prof, why, from the patient perspective, is cancer such a scary word? Why is it such a scary disease?
Because medicine and doctors are unattractive, okay? We do not speak to our patients properly, and we should. It's the person's body, not the doctor's body. And I've never seen anyone line up to say, I want chemo. It's a hard thing to go through. Going through any severe healthcare crisis is like climbing Kilimanjaro or doing an extreme event. And what you want to know is you want to take that responsibility, my body. Someone must explain to you, this is my diagnosis, these are my options, I have time to make decisions, and you're going to listen to me along my journey, through the cute part and through the other part. Because if you have someone telling you, hey, you need to take both your breasts off, then why are you going to go for screening, okay? Or, sorry, you need chemo, and don't tell me what to do, okay? You must go. Why are you going to come in? So I saw a lovely 80-year-old lady last night who was tiny, lazy cancer. And she's like, she's been so frightened. And I said, you don't even need an operation. You need tablets, and then maybe we can freeze it. The world is changing, okay? We are getting cleverer and cleverer, and when people talk, do I have a social handle, was that the word, or media, TikTok or something? I don't have any. But if you guys do have, it's about getting the information out there, of empowering people to take responsibility for their bodies, question second opinions. That's how you change the tide of medicine, and then people will be less fearful to come in.
Ntombi, there's no question about the fact that a diagnosis changes a patient's life, and it has such a broad impact, not just on what they're able to do, but on their families, on their communities, and it really requires so much support from those different levels of societal engagements. Let's talk about that impact, and from a mental wellness perspective, how important it is to have that awareness too, that when somebody gets a diagnosis, it becomes about more than just this patient.
Thank you, Cathy, for that question. And you raise awareness. Awareness is so important because so often we look to the outside. You know, people are very much about the physical body and what is happening. But a lot happens internally in terms of how do people navigate their emotional state. You know, when they are first diagnosed, through the treatment, and then after treatment. What does it actually mean to be diagnosed, and how does this affect people's lives at work in terms of how they see their work or communication with their family? A lot of people have said that it's been very scary to just tell their children, share with their partner. Enrise Consulting focuses a lot on employee wellness and bringing wellness into the workspace. And the workspace is really where it's very important, because this is, you know, a space where people spend most of their time, and yet they feel isolated. And so it's so much more important in the workspace that we do talk about mental health. We do talk about breast cancer, not only during October, but, you know, making wellness a lifestyle. And once we make wellness a lifestyle, it's about being aware, who am I, what's happening to my body internally, you know, what kind of support is there for me?
Sure.
And a lot of the support, there is support, but people don't know how to access it, or also are afraid of accessing it due to stigma or not having enough information or lack of confidentiality.
All right. Ntombi, we'll continue the conversation in a moment. It's our special program that we've lined up for today as we wrap up Breast Cancer Awareness, or rather, Cancer Awareness Month. But we're focusing for this conversation on breast cancer. We'll continue after this break.
Hello?
Good day, sir. This is Steve.
Steve from Big Bank.
Well, I've upgraded. I now go by Smart Steve from Momentum.
Ooh, Smart Steve from Momentum.
Yep, you've got it. Can we chat about Momentum Life Insurance?
Yes?
Well, Momentum has introduced new technology that's smarter than your smartphone.
I doubt that, Steve.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
It scans your heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen, and stress levels.
Wow. Can it also make
1 2 1 2 1 2 2 2 2 2.
Not yet, but it can save you up to 35% on your monthly life insurance premiums.
Premium discounts with a smartphone
1 2 1 2 1 2.
You're up to no good again, aren't you, Steve?
But I'm up to all good this time. Unlock premium discounts the smart way.
I like Momentum for giving you another chance, Smart Steve. And this discount will go a long way in this economy.
Just chat with your financial advisor about Momentum Life Returns. Momentum, here for your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
The 20th AGOA Forum will take place from the 2nd to the 4th of November 2023 under the theme Partnering to Build a Resilient, Sustainable and Inclusive AGOA to support economic development, industrialization and quality job creation. Tune in to Update at Noon with Sakina Kamwendo and Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampier for rolling coverage from the Nazareth Expo Center. SAfm, leading the conversation. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana, weekdays 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on the Talking Point. So you've heard the context of where we find ourselves as a country when it comes to breast cancer, its prevalence in our communities. I want to hear from some of the survivors that we have here today. And I think obviously language is important, and this is where you as the experts in the space will correct me. Because sometimes we say cancer patients, and patients are like, no, I'm not a patient, I'm a survivor. And then when we say this, cancer survivors, some survivors says, no, by saying that you're surviving, you're not acknowledging the fact that I'm undergoing this difficult time of treatment. And so language, what is the language that we must use that brings everybody in and that doesn't make people feel like how you're describing their situation is wrong? And we're living in 2023, right? So it's very easy to get dragged and cancelled if you say the wrong thing. So what should we be saying?
So I think it's a bit like when you ask someone about what's your preferred pronoun. Okay, so it's a choice. So personally, I don't like the word survivor. I think everyone survives every day. I think these women are they're thrivers. They are superheroes. I always use my Captain Marvel analogy. They've been through a blast and they've come out like twice everything anyone else is. So I always respectfully ask people, like, your preferred pronoun? How do you want to be addressed? Okay, so that's my take.
All right. Josie, I'm going to begin with you. You can tell us how you want to be addressed.
The first question that comes to mind is, if not me, who? And then my positive attitude towards life makes me survive the sketch, And
so you're a survivor.
in a body book magazine, I'm called a super survivor.
You are a super survivor. All right.
Because I had because I had triple negative breast cancer. So Professor can maybe clarify on that one, triple negative.
Well, what is triple negative cancer?
So today we don't look at breast cancer so much about stage, how big it is. We no longer stageist, we no longer ageist. So old people get one thing and young people get another. We treat on how cells behave. Yeah. So it's like saying TB is different to malaria, is different to a bacterial fungus. You treat them differently. So triple negative is a cancer. It's a colloquial term that doesn't have any hormones attached to it. And by the way, hormones are not causing cancers. They fertilize cells. That's all they do. Cells change because something in their genetic structure changes, and in the microenvironment, the hyena cells are not able to kill them. So it's grown a specific type of plant from a triple negative breast cancer, needs chemo and often immunotherapy. And if you can kill it and kill it completely, that is like superhero. But most of those ladies, not all, there are always in T's and C's with every cancer. Most of them need quite hectic chemotherapies, get through, so you are a super survivor.
Thank you, Prof. Yeah, and so I would like to maybe, talk to the audience and listeners out there that, awareness is key. We need to create platforms that are readily available And then talking also amongst ourselves, amongst our peers, will help a lot in terms of breast cancer awareness.
Tell us about your journey of diagnosis, because that's part of the awareness, right? How did you discover that you had cancer in the first place?
Okay, it started at high school. I had a fibroadenoma, which is a normal breast lump. And then after that, from then on, I started, like going on mammogram every year, year in, year out, until 2017. But prior to 2017, when I was diagnosed, I had breast lumps removed as well. So that's where it started. In 2017, I was diagnosed, and then I started the chemo in December of 2017, and then completed 2018 April, and then did the lumpectomy, like removal of where the tumor was, and then after that 31 days of radiation. Yeah, so after that it's the aftermath. It doesn't end there. Yeah, so as I say, the chemotherapy drugs, while they fixing, they also messing up with, nerves and stuff like that. Yeah.
So I just want to say that something that's not a cancer can't become a cancer. So you need to do sonars if young girls have fibroadenomas, and you can do a needle biopsy to find out what it is. Problem with triple negatives is sometimes people who have fibroadenomas, they mistakenly think it's a fibroadenoma and it's a triple negative breast cancer because they look the same on sonar. So something that's a buck can't become a line, okay? So we don't need to encourage doctors to take out things because they're there, but we need the right way to find out what it is.
So, Josie, it's been quite a journey for you, I think, over really a longer term period, fighting this disease. What would you say have been perhaps the most unexpected challenges that you've had to go through in that period?
I think it changed my lifestyle. Sometimes even how you think and behave, because after the treatment you forget easily. You've got sometimes you wake up, there's pain from lower body to the feet, and every day it's a challenge. So like as we speak, now I'm diagnosed with cholesterol in the brain, something like that. So I have to go into another medication, Aspavor or something like that.
Sure.
So it's not your cholesterol levels. Things we need to check for our blood pressure, cholesterol, our cancer screening. So if your cholesterol levels are up, it's like little bits of fat in your bloodstream, and that's when you go into the Aspavors and stuff. Okay.
Josie, what a journey you have been on. Guys, let's give Josie a round of applause. My gosh.
Thank you.
What a journey you have been on. And to still be here, looking as good as you do, and speaking so openly about your story and your experience is really something to be commended. We're going to continue the conversation in a moment after the latest 11 o'clock news headlines. We're going to hear from more survivors of breast cancer. We'll also hear from the audience that is here to weigh in, give their contributions, give their stories, their experiences of having to not only fight this disease, but walk with others who are on that journey. It's 11 o'clock, time for the latest news.
Independent and impartial. This is SAfm News.
Okay.
In our top stories, UNISA interdicts the higher education minister, and probe into alleged bogus Dr. Matthew Lani continues. Good morning. The High Court in Pretoria has declared as unconstitutional the Higher Education Minister Blayden Nzimande's decision to place the University of South Africa under administration. Nzimande announced his decision to place the university under administration last week. This after reports of an independent assessor which found corruption and maladministration at the institution. The report emerged as the university's leadership found itself at loggerheads with Nzimande over the appointment of an administrator to run the institution. There's also been a wide-ranging investigation into several of UNISA's procurement projects. President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed Advocate Koleka Kaleka as the new public protector. This after the National Assembly recommended Kaleka to the President for appointment to the position. Kaleka was acting as the public protector after the suspension and subsequent impeachment of a predecessor, Advocate Pusiswe Mkhwebane, following the Section 194 inquiry's recommendation and the National Assembly's adoption of its report. Mkhwebane is now an EFF Member of Parliament who serves on the Justice Portfolio Committee that oversees the Public Protector's Office. The presidential spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya.
The President wishes Advocate Kaleka well in her position and trust that she will serve the people of South Africa with honor and dedication.
A tax revenue shortfall of around 50 billion rand may be on the cards this year due to low corporate income tax contributions and weak export commodity tariffs. Analysts say companies spending on self-generated power due to rolling blackouts and Transnet's logistical failures that have affected commodity exports have curtailed corporate taxes. Transnet says it's facing a debt crisis and will need at least 100 billion rand bailout from government to recover and implement its turnaround strategy. Economist Iraj Abedin explains the impact of Transnet's problems on the fiscus ahead of the Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's medium-term budget policy statement in Cape Town this afternoon.
Transnet has been a source of undermining growth and undermining fiscal revenue, because when you can't export minerals, when the mines dig it out but they cannot take it to the harbor is not functioning to get containers being delivered. It's a disaster. It's been a process that over the past 10 years we have talked about, we've analyzed it, we've highlighted the impact in the medium to long term, but the government just ignores the.
The Gauteng Health Department says investigations will continue into the alleged bogus Dr. Matthew Lani. This after the Johannesburg Magistrates Court withdrew charges against him due to a lack of evidence. The social media influencer was arrested at the Helen Joseph Hospital on Sunday for impersonating a doctor, but the matter was not placed on the court roll. The National Prosecuting Authority says lying is not a crime unless it happens when under oath. The department spokesperson, Mutalatale Mudiba.
The department further notes that the National Prosecuting Authority has indicated that investigations continue around this matter, and as such, the department is not in a position to fully comment on the case.
And finally, all communications and internet services have again been cut off in the Gaza Strip. This as fighting between Israel and the Palestinian militant group continues. Rescuers have been searching for survivors after yesterday's Israeli airstrikes in Jabalia, near the biggest refugee camp in Gaza. The health ministry in Gaza says more than 50 people were killed and 150 others wounded. The BBC's Yolandi Nell reports.
In the darkness, rescuers clawed through the rubble around several huge craters in Jabalia after a barrage of Israeli airstrikes. Israel's military says it killed a senior Hamas figure who helped plan the deadly 7th of October attacks. It says that when Hamas's underground stronghold was targeted, buildings above unavoidably collapsed. Hamas denied any commander was present. A doctor at a hospital told the BBC they'd received 120 dead. Israel has confirmed that 9 more of its soldiers have been killed without giving details.
Recapping the top story, the High Court in Pretoria has declared as unconstitutional the Higher Education Minister Blade Nzimande's decision to place the University of South Africa under administration. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
6 after 11 o'clock, welcome to the third and final hour of The Talking Point. We continue with our special broadcast looking at breast cancer and bringing that awareness really to our SAfm community. I'm joined by a panel of experts and survivors. You've already heard from some of them within the first half hour of this program. We're going to continue with those stories of the survivors that are part of this conversation, and I'm going to invite Refule Sidumedi, who is Refule. Prof said I must ask, how do you prefer to be called? But I also really just want to hear your story.
Thank you so much, Cathy. Mina, because I was diagnosed in 2013, so I survived certain things along the way also, and I call myself a warrior. I would really prefer if people say, Refule, the Pink Panther, the warrior. So that's how I would really prefer to be called.
Talk me through the journey of diagnosis and first learning that there was a concern around breast cancer, how you received that, and the impact really that it has had on your life since then.
Thank you so much, Cathy. With me, we have a history in my family because I lost my mom in 2004. She was diagnosed with brain cancer. So it was that thing of being, cautious. And I had that lump for like 2 to 3 years. But I don't condone that to the listeners at home because it was the fear of the unknown as I saw my mom struggling and losing the battle. So for me, it was like, am I gonna be, is this cancer, But again, I always emphasize when I do my talks that as soon as, like Prof was saying, that we need to know our bodies. As soon as you see something that you're not sure of, you need to rush to the doctor for medical help. So for me, it was like, I lost my mom. What if they say it's cancerous, But at some stage, I just thought, I prayed about it, and I said to myself, no, Refule, you need to do something about this. What if it's getting worse and worse, As we know, cancer is a silent killer. And Prof, she's my doctor. Throughout my journey, even now, when I go and do my annual checkups, she's always there. So thank you so much, Prof, for taking care of us, because she's really taking care of us. I really appreciate that. It was such a horrible journey with regards to the treatments but quite frankly, we had people like Bontokozo, who were the counselors, Bo Ouma, and they really took care of us. And they held our hands and said, you know what, we pulled through this, you are going to make it. But again, accepting that this is what they are telling you. And the concern of the kids, like my son was 12, my daughter was 6 by then. You can imagine. And what are you going to tell the kids? How are you going to break their ice? How are they going to receive the news? What do they know about this cancer? Because in our black communities, it's a myth, It's this stigma of cancer is a white man's disease. As much as we're talking about it, that we're raising more awareness, we're trying by all means to say to our black communities that it does not discriminate, And giving up, again, is not an option at all. Whatever challenge, whether being cancer or we're facing, like we were saying, we survive every day. It's not about cancer, it's about everyday challenges, You might be facing divorce, kids being bullied, and our kids, as we know, lately our kids are just rebellious and. So we survive every day. So for me, it was a matter of, wow. But I had suicidal thoughts. After I was told on my way back home, I'm telling you, I wanted to drive in front of this truck. which is something that but then there was this voice that said to me, you've got so much to live for.
Yeah.
So imagine since 2013, I've been declared cancer free, and I'm so privileged. It's such an honor, and it's God's grace, because I cannot do it on my own. And you know, it's God has shown off with my life. And in 2019, I was shot on my neck. I'm still living with the bullet lodged in my neck tissues after the attempted hijacking. You know, so hence I was saying, as you thinking you've passed through the worst, something else happens. And what do you say? Are you still saying you're a warrior? Are you still saying you're a survivor? Because every day we are challenged.
Sure. Refile, what a story, and congratulations to you on being declared cancer-free, but still being such a loud advocate for raising awareness around this disease. I want to bring in members of our audience. Prof, I'll give you a chance to come in shortly, but I want to bring in members of the audience here, and really just to drive into this issue of fear, because I think it's important that we talk about what lies in this darkness of this fear of the unknown, that a young girl like Refilwe can go 3 years with a lump in her breast, but afraid to go have it tested. And, you know, Prof, you spoke a lot about that, the fact that sometimes people are just afraid of opening the door because they don't know what opening that door will mean.
So it's the whole audience here will each tell you their story, but it's the concept that you know, and it's because the concept of the treatment and the what is behind that door is so scary. And the bravery of women here, I mean, my heart opens every day because I want to just cry when I can say, it's power on you. That's why we owe them the privilege of who are you, who do you call yourself, and who do you stand by? Because we stand by you, next to them, not in front of them telling them what to do, personalizing treatment and holding people's hands, navigating people through. We need to be that together, and to take away fear, we must stop with this concept of, oh my God, I'm so sorry, and my auntie died, and my this and that, and this negativity, whether it's about cancer, we must be real. Whether it's about cancer, COVID, TB, what happens in our country, we have to inspire a walk together positively, because that's all you can do. Because there's fear for all of us, and every day we're opening another door.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you want.
Yeah.
All right. Very briefly for me,
yes,
please.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that Refilwe opened up about, you know, wanting to commit suicide, because so often I think people experiencing treatment or who have just been diagnosed, they're almost forced to be positive, keep this face and wear a happy mask. Meanwhile, and that isolates people even further. And I think people should be allowed to express themselves and know that it's okay what you're going through. There's so many different stages of what a person will go through, and each stage, and that's why sometimes people don't want to be called survivors. Some people are, I'm not there yet, but just waking up each and every single day and saying, I choose to live today. And that's all it is about. I choose to live today. I choose to fight today. I choose to gain more information. Whatever it is, that is your journey, and there are different stages to it.
That's so important. Charles, I'm going to ask you to come in. I'm going to take the liberties of directing this conversation. When I ask you to go give the microphone to Mam Lillian Dube, I want to take us off. No, you don't have to. There's a microphone right there. I'm going to ask her to kick us off from our audience members. Thank you so much for being here today and for adding your voice. You're all dolled up in pink. I can see you are like Refilwe. 365 days a year is cancer awareness.
Thank you so much, Cathy, and I love you so much. Refilwe Manaka, thank you for mentioning my professor, my doctor, my angel. I want to tell everybody that when you've got cancer, you are fortunate when you get somebody like Professor Carol and Ben. Professor Carol and Ben, when I first went to her rooms, I had a Mursa Babalas. And I get there, I see aliens, everybody clean-shaven heads for the first time. I'm thinking, where am I? And then I went into her rooms and I said, Doctor, I'm sorry, I'm not dying, I've got a babalas. And she laughed, thank God. And she wasn't dressed in a white coat. She was just the girl next door. And we started talking, and she told me she used to work at Bara. I used to be a clerk. We knew same doctors. And then I was going to go away to Mauritius, but because I thought my life was over, I was thinking of cancelling. And she said, no, it's nothing. I've got to make sure that I do what has to be done, because once I remove them, and she points, I'll never forget how she pointed at the rubbish bin. I can't take it back. But she made it like it's just drinking a cup of coffee, like I've got nothing. So I went jolling from Mauritius, I went to Moy River. It was the best time of my life. And I just want to say, you know, I talk too much, I won't today. We need support. Whether it's cancer, divorce, whatever, you cannot do it on your own. I'm an only child, but I'm very fortunate. The whole world are my relatives because I love people and they love me back. And guess what gave me courage to go for my surgery? The car guards at Cresta Mall. They said, Mama, we've already prayed for you, you're not going to die. And I knew I wasn't going to die.
Yeah.
In 2015, when it came back, everybody knew I was going to die. I was the only one who knew I wasn't going to die. Because when God gave me cancer, I said, I know I'm famous for Sister Bettina. But I was being paid for that. I said, what is it that you want me to do? I said, if you spare me, I'm going to create awareness. Because thanks to Soul City, I found my own lamp.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate. My doctor, my GP, referred me to Professor Carol and Ben because I love him. And he loves me. And he's an Afrikaner, my dear. Young Dr. Leroux believed in Dr. Carol and Ben. Also, your team, Dr. Chetty, Dr. Moodley, you are my heroes. There's not a day that I don't thank God for your lives. We appreciate you. I pray God gives you long life to help us all. Now to us all, and especially not only black people, I've got white friends who were hiding that they've got cancer. My best friend, after having seen me, and I said, you thought it was a black thing? Hi, Sugawena. Don't keep anything to yourself. Whatever you are going through, other people have experienced it and they can hold you by the hand. All you need is love. You need support, support, support. And I'm famous today, not for my acting, but for my cancer, and I'm grateful.
Wow. That's such a powerful story. Thanks for sharing that with us, Mam Lillian. The issue around how a woman's life is affected once there's a diagnosis, the first thing that she talks about is that she wanted to cancel all of her plans because of that disruption. And I wonder how much of that is a contributor to, again, people coming forward because you just want to keep it moving. We know that women often are carrying the burden of raising families, of, being breadwinners in their families, taking care of children. So when you think about a diagnosis, it's not just about the diagnosis, it's about, am I going to be able to work? Will the people at work still let me come to work? Will they still trust me in the way that they did before? And I wonder how much that also contributes.
So I think what you need to realize is cancer doesn't run around your body in 24 hours. So this concept of like a spider, get it off me, chuck it off, put it in the bin is absolute nonsense. Things that change your life forever. But there's a very interesting study that's just come out of Korea. We did a whole lot of presentations. We looked at pre, during, and post-COVID. There was no change in age, stage, or biology in our unit. But in the UK and the US, they looked at people who were diagnosed and couldn't access treatment. And for the vast majority, up to 6 months, there was no change in outcomes and survival. So I'm not saying wait with your lump for 6 months, but I'm saying anyone who tells you, cancel your holiday tomorrow, do this, your child's writing matric exams, and don't disrupt your entire life. Take time to speak to navigators, work out what to do, fit it in around work and home. There's no reason why we can't do that.
I want to, where's my roving microphone? I want to get contributions from the floor on this issue. And when you get the mic, I'm going to ask you to please just introduce yourself, the organization that you are representing, and then you can add your voice. So just by show of hands. Yes, ma'am.
Morning. I'm Labkhang Lisufi. I'm founder of Kudwadi Restoration Foundation. I'm a breast cancer warrior. I was diagnosed with breast cancer 2016, and I had a mastectomy. My left breast was removed, but I'm still beautiful, hey? Yeah, a cancer journey is not an easy one, but I thank God because I had a sister. There was a time whereby I needed to give up when I was taking my chemo for the second time, but I was introduced to Refile Sidumedi, and she said to me, we're going to walk this journey together, and you're going to make it. I remember there was a time whereby I was saying, no, Refile, I cannot continue with this. This is very painful. But then the word of God in John 9, verse 1 to 5, the disciple of Jesus asked him, Rabbi, who sinned between this man and his parents so that he can be blind? And his answer was, no one sinned, but for the glory of God to be seen. So I believe that God allows certain situations that you go through those situations for a reason. Because God saw that there was a vacant post. He wanted someone to step in and do the awareness. There I was. And God is known as a healer. But for him to be known as a healer, someone needs to get sick and be healed. Then you'll then testify that indeed he is the healer. So I saw him working with me this painful journey. I remember first day when I told my son, he was then 14 years and my daughter was 5 years. And when I told him, he cried so much. And I asked him, why are you crying? He said, because you're going to die. And the most difficult thing it was because I was going through a divorce. I was going through a divorce and they just felt like we have no one. We only have you. Then when we lose you, what are we going to do? But then I said to them, by the grace of God, I'm going to win this battle. And surely I did. And my breast cancer journey has taught me to live my life to the fullest, has taught me to love myself so much. Hence, I even said, I'm a black diamond. I am rare to find. Not easily cut. And you can't even sell it. Whatever situation that I went through an abusive marriage for 12 years. After abusive marriage, then 2016, when my divorce is to be finalized, I was diagnosed with cancer. Thereafter, I got COVID, 2021, and it was like, I'm going to die, but it wasn't, because God has a purpose about my life. So I am a warrior. I'm here because there is a purpose that I need to fulfill. Wow. And for that reason, I'll continue. Of course, we need those awareness. We need that support from our government, of which we do not get. But little that we are doing in our organization, it's really making a difference. All right. Because we go to hospital, we even sponsoring our patients with the cream, aqueous cream that are not perfumed, because our government does not provide for such. All right. But us as the organization, we're trying to close that gap. So There is a reason why you're going through what you're going through. And the cancer journey is walkable. Here I am. I walked, and I'm still standing after 5 years. I still can smile.
And I must say, you know, you look incredible. You truly are a black diamond. Thank you so much for sharing that story and that experience. All right, I've got a hand up on the other side of the room. I see Professor Carol Ann Bin is dashing off. Maybe just a parting shot, Prof, before you leave.
Right. I think that these women here, you guys inspire me. I'm going to go back to work. For me, it's about equitable health care, not pointing fingers as who's doing and who's not doing, okay? But to turn around and see how we can all make a difference together, which is, I think, why we're here. So from my point of view, we see people who don't have access to funding, who do have access to funding. In fact, I'm going up to Acorn Hooked and Swallow Hospital next week. We set up a new clinic there, little government clinic. It's about everybody making a difference, and together we stand. Great.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you for that contribution. Yes, ma'am, if you can please introduce yourself again and tell us which organization you represent.
Good morning to everyone. I'm very humbled to be here this morning. My name is Kensi for sure. In December, I'll be 55. And when people look at my age, when I tell them, they say, wow. I would say I'm a cancer survivor based on I'm old school. We listen to all these languages today. It's different way of saying things. The reason being that at the age of 28, I was diagnosed with a cancer of the rectum. One of the cancers which is never spoken about. You speak of the cancer of the rectum, people are like, yeah, the cancer of the rectum, and on top of it, I've got a cherry on top, I've got a permanent colostomy.
Sure.
And when I look at myself and I look at where I am today and I look at how God's grace has been upon me, I'm like, God, you had a reason why you had to turn my story to glorify you. I ended up belonging to a support group in Bara for people with ostomies, because there's different ostomies. It's either you can have a colostomy for urine or a colostomy for feces. So I've got the one for feces. So ladies and gentlemen, as you're sitting here, I feel pity for you. If we can all have runny tummy, Mina, I'm sorted. I will be cacking in my bag and comfortably. I could see all of you, you were getting a bit like worried to say shame. This girl doesn't subscribe to a shame. For the past 27 years that I've got a permanent colostomy bag,
sure,
which I caca in the bag. Believe you me, I live my life like it's golden. I've got a challenge though. Today we are speaking of breast cancer awareness and other cancers. My challenge, which every day I preach and I talk about it, is that cancer of the rectum, it's one of the cancers that is not spoken about. It's not spoken about, the reason being that no one wants to speak about amagaga.
Yes.
But we all gaga, eh? Yeah. Because everyone will call it number 2. They give it name, it's a shoo-shoo, as if we don't go to the bathroom. When I speak of a colostomy bag, that I change every day. One of my painful thing and issues is our government hospitals. Health conditions and health diseases are a lot out there. The hospital will prefer to supply a lot of condoms versus the colostomy bag. How do you get supplied 3, even not 4 bags to say, this is what we have, go home. It's like, I know in this room there's no one who's got a colostomy. By you having a bag, you are saying, I'm reusing a toilet paper and put it in my bag and I'll use it again. That's how bad it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, being here today, I find it that it is so much of a blessing to say we're talking of different cancers. This is one of them that it says it is an awareness.
All right. I'm going to ask you to pause it there. We're going to take the 11:30 news headlines. We'll continue the conversation in a moment.
Good morning. In the headlines, the former President Jacob Zuma's case, which is seeking the private prosecution of advocate Billy Downer and journalist Karen Moore, is underway in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. Zuma has accused the two of leaking a confidential doctor's letter during his arms deal fraud and corruption trial. The High Court in Pretoria has declared as unconstitutional the Higher Education Minister Blade Nzimande's decision to place the University of South Africa under administration. And President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed Advocate Koleka Caleka as the new public protector. This after the National Assembly recommended her to the President for appointment to the position. I'll have details on these and other stories at 12.
SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide.
Carol, hello.
Hello there, Smart Steve from Momentum here. Can I interest you in a 35% discount on your life insurance premiums?
35% discount? Steve from Beat Bank. I thought you left your tricks in the past.
I have, and that's the same place you should leave your step counting.
I get a free coffee every week for doing 10,000 steps daily.
That sounds like a long walk to nowhere.
Steve?
Sorry. With us, you can unlock up to 35% discount without counting steps.
You sure? Momentum does that.
For sure. By simply doing Momentum's life return screening on your smartphone.
Smart.
Yes, I'm Smart Steve now.
Impressive, Smart Steve.
Just chat with your financial advisor about Momentum Life Returns to save on your life insurance premium. Momentum, here for your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
The 20th AGOA Forum will take place from the 2nd to the 4th of November 2023 under the theme Partnering to Build a Resilient, Sustainable and Inclusive AGOA to Support Economic Development, Industrialization and Quality Job Creation. Tune in to Update at Noon with Sakina Kamwendo and Beyond the Headline with Aldrin St-Pierre for rolling coverage from the Nasrec Expo Center. SAfm, leading the conversation. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on The Talking Point. It's our special broadcast focusing on cancer awareness. We're out in Krugersdorp, Mildersdrift, at the Misty Hills Hotel to bring you this conversation. We've been hearing from some of the lovely women that are part of our audience this morning, and I'm going to maybe give one last opportunity from another audience member just to share their insight and give an input before I come back to our panelists. Okay, I saw your hand up first, so I'm going to ask that we please get a microphone. Oh, the microphone is already in front of you. Go for it.
Hi, everyone. I want to say congratulations to the survivors. I call them the survivors. I'm not a breast cancer survivor or any cancer survivor, but I am a stroke survivor. As Prof. and Refilo mentioned that we survive every day. I've survived a lot in my life. I've lost my husband to cancer, but that didn't stop me in anything in life. I said I will keep on soldiering on because I had support when I faced that. And I always say, if not me, who must face the situation? So I had joined the Cancer Vive Riders along with the Refile and my mother, Umam Lilian. In anything in life that we face, I want to emphasize on the support structure. That is what has kept me going in life, a support structure. Try and find your people, whatever you're facing, whether it's cancer, a stroke, anything in life that you are facing. Just look for your people. A support structure will keep you going. And I close off by saying, all the time, kusane hope, never lose hope.
Wow. Nolene, let's talk about this issue of support structures. Every single one of these women that have spoken would have needed support, not a little bit, a lot of it, on an ongoing basis. Because sometimes, you know, we think that support is a one-day thing where I come, I see you for lunch, and I've visited you, and then I've done my bit. But what is it that anybody who is supporting an individual that they love on this journey, what do they need to know about the importance of what they are bringing into that experience?
That's an excellent question. Can someone diagnosed with cancer, and in a lot of the instances where we work, which is obviously our mandate, is to take cancer screening services to all the medically uninsured across this country. And the women in the communities that get diagnosed, etc., they actually don't have support. A lot of them, and probably the majority of them, don't have support because of the myths and stigmas attached to the disease, the word cancer. Their husbands are probably working away. They left in the communities to rear the children. And then the perception, as it's been mentioned on a number of occasions here, is a white woman's disease. So there are groups out there that offer that. I mean, what we do when we are in the communities, we ask the women and the men to come forward, and we then try and direct them to wherever there are support groups. Because in some of the communities there are support groups, but the individual that gets diagnosed does not know about that support group. There's not enough awareness. And we also work very closely with the churches, and we say to them, you know, you help us, but because you've got that audience maybe even 7 days a week, help us get the messaging out there to be able to tell the people where they need to go.
Ntombi?
I think support is very important, but we also need to unpack what does support mean. And often with breast cancer, we tend to think medical. It's just looking at the medical impact of things. But actually, when we unpack support, we need to approach support in a holistic perspective. We need the medical practitioners. We need the mental support. We need the family. We need the spiritual. And also, we need financial support. People forget that people who have been diagnosed with cancer or going through cancer treatment, one of the main anxiety is, how am I going to pay for all this treatment? How am I going to survive financially? I already have bills in terms of taking care of my family. So, and mainly that's what we pick up in terms of the anxiety and going to work. Will I be able to continue working? And so I really do feel that families need more education and information. What do I do when I get diagnosed? And we also forget the people looking after people who have been diagnosed. What are they going through? What type of support do they need? Yes, they need people to talk to, because they are the ones who are trying to keep strong in holding things together, but they also need to offload on someone. So they definitely need the, you know, a professional to talk to, support groups and things like that. But we do need to approach support in a holistic way.
All right. We're coming towards the end of our conversation. I want to give Josie and Refule 30 seconds each to somebody who's listening to this conversation and has received a diagnosis, or has a family member that has received a diagnosis and is going through the journey right now. What would you say to them to help encourage them on this journey? Let me begin with you, Refule. 30 seconds.
Thank you, Cathy. I'd like to say to that person, or even the families, listen to the person who's going through the challenge, because sometimes, some days are not the same. Today, I woke up not feeling like I want to talk. So allow me, because I'm going through emotions and I'm going through this journey that I don't even know about it myself. I'm still trying to navigate and learn what is it that works for me. So only if the family and prayer, Cathy, conquers everything. If I don't feel like I want to talk, if I feel like I want to scream, allow me to scream, but don't feel sorry for me. Throwing pity parties is not going to help me. All I need is someone who will understand what I'm going through.
All right.
I will say to a person who has been diagnosed that the most important thing that is charity begins at home. So the support must first start at home. Have a supportive structure at home, your husband, your children, make them understand that what you're feeling or what you're going through. And then the empathy that is there with your support structure at home will resonate to outside people, because you'll have a positive mind and positive attitude, whatever people say out there, because of the stigma. It has a terrible stigma. When people look at you, they think that you are dead. Yeah, we're going to bury you. So it's very important that, you know, first at home, it has to start at home, the support, and then you go through the process of navigation, like as my colleague says, and then navigation as in, you know, you go to the right people, like doctors, to take you through the route.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josie. Nolene, lastly, very briefly for me, where can people go to get more information?
They can go to www.pinkdrive.org, or they can send an email to medical@pinkdrive.org, or phone me on my cell 083 460 6146, and we will direct you to wherever you need to go. We never leave anyone, regardless of what the cancer is, unattended. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll certainly put all of those details up on our social media pages. You're waving, but we're completely out of time. I'm so sorry. We're completely out of time for this conversation. This is where we'll have to leave it. The Talking Point back with you again tomorrow morning. Ladies, please give yourselves a wonderful round of applause. You all are incredible warriors. It's been a pleasure being in conversation with you and hearing your stories. So the update at noon coming up at midday. Up next is the book reading.
The book reading. Please note, the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAfm presents another episode of Mohudi, written by Sol Plaki. The reader is Sello Motlou.
Chapter 22. The Exodus. Mzilikazi was the last to leave with his